Welcome back to the Inside CHCA Eagles Athletics podcast here on CHCAEagles.com and ESP Media powered by Sidearm Sports. I'm Jason Griefer. Back with us once again this week is CHCA Athletic Director Bryan Fetzer. Bryan, good to talk to you and good to see you once again. Tony Schultz filled in well last week, so be ready to go here this week.
Well, you got to make sure that the individuals that actually are getting things done do most of the talking as Tony has been both on the athletic department side and also in baseball. What a great start to a season that, was a great last year. And, the guys have moved on and 7-1 and taking care of business right now.
Yeah, that's where I was heading into our conversation here right now. You mentioned 7-1 on the year thus far, and also 3-0 in the Scarlet Division of the MVC. So you look at the way things are shaping up this week, and assuming Mother Nature cooperates, you've got two pretty big ones coming up here in the next couple of days with Cincinnati Christian. They're nipping at your heels right now with 3-1 in the league. So I'm curious how Tony goes about working with the team as far as the balance of, we want to win our division, and want to win the conference, but we also have bigger aspirations and we want to try and defend our state title. How do they go about that?
I think one of the things is when you have an older team, a team that's been there, done that, it's amazing that most of the guys who were on the team last year were juniors, and they were young, or younger, but they experienced that and they're hungry to kind of defend and kind of put things forward. You have a large number of them that are going to college to play baseball. So, it's each game. I mean, that's probably the biggest challenge as a coaching staff, is not necessarily getting to that pedestal, but maintaining the top of the pedestal. I know personally from coaching, it was always harder when you were the hunted than when you were hunting.
So they're going through this process now of trying to have, you got that target on your back, and things are a little different as you alluded to there, but you've got two of the better players in Southwest Ohio right now, and Ty Yelton and Jack Bogle. Ty's hitting 667, Jack's hitting 645, and Tony talked to us a little bit about that, about kind of what they've done. And as you mentioned, those are two key guys back from a year ago. What do you make of when you see those two in particular putting up the numbers they are, seemingly getting on base every time out, and just the lift that can give an overall program when you look at two guys in Ty and Jack and know, okay, they're getting on base, they're going to go 3 for 4 today and get on base and really set things up?
Well, I mean, first off, they are incredible young men. Just seeing them around, on campus and stuff, they're always smiling. They're always jovial. They're always, they're excited about being part of the team. And I think one of the unique aspects of the team, talking with Tony, that he thinks is one of the big parts is these guys are great friends outside of the playing field, which that's not always the case in a lot of team sports. But, when you've got as many bats as what we have at CHCA, that's amazing. We have 3 guys with over 12 RBIs, Murphy, Ames, and Jack, the same. I mean, it's if you have a little off time, somebody else is going to be able to pick it up. And then you throw in the pitching that's going on right now. Connor, Robinson has just been on fire.
On the softball side of things, it seems like they're playing a little game of one-upsmanship, if you will, compared to the baseball program. They're 4-0 to start things out and have outscored their opponents 63-2 to start things off through the front 4 games. Can you determine which, the pitching or the offense, which has been more impressive to you? And is there one that you think, or maybe both, that can be sustained?
Well, I'd say, Finley Payne's been on fire. 0.47. I had to make sure I get it right. 0.47 ERA, is with 19 Ks. The one thing with softball, when you have a dominant pitcher, like Finley is, it makes things really difficult. 63 runs. Everybody said there's five of the young ladies over 500 batting average. So everybody's contributing, which is a huge part. And the biggest problem that our baseball and softball teams have faced this year is not necessarily against opponents, but the opponent of Mother Nature. They're constantly rescheduling, constantly. This is my first time back in Ohio in 30 some years. I can't remember a spring, any place I've ever been, that's been as roller coaster as what Cincinnati's been this year with, warm weather, pouring down rain, sunny, snow yesterday. I mean, we had snow flurries at my place. I mean, it's kind of
Yep.
crazy. So what's going to happen with baseball and softball is you're going to be making up a bunch of games, later on in the season, which if you have good pitching staffs, that can help out, but it also kind of puts a toll on them. So if you're hitting the ball, that makes a big help.
Well, and Finley's doing that too. She's only hitting 700 on top of what
Yeah,
she's doing on the mound. So, yeah,
Hey,
that's not too shabby.
maybe Harvard saw something in her, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And all the weather changes and stuff. All I can say is welcome back. It's
Right.
been that way for a little bit, sadly. But
Absolutely. Absolutely.
so Finley is doing kind of everything at this point early in the season. Still a long ways to go, but I mean, my gosh, everything that she's doing has just been mighty impressive for sure. Let's switch things up and let's talk about your lacrosse programs. Let's start with the boys first. Got slated games with Seven Hills and Bellbrook coming up this week, and we're already. It's amazing how many games we've got to do to get it done in such a short period of time, and every sport has to deal with this in the spring season. But
Yes.
already approaching the nearly the midway point of the season, we've already had some nice wins against Wilmington, Wyoming, thriller against Kings 14-12 last week. Have the coaches been able to evaluate the progress of this group from the preseason training and into the handful of games they've gotten in thus far in the season, and where they think they can still go?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the things that Quinn wanted to do going into the season was kind of start a little bit later with a young team, young goalies. Um, they didn't want to just barrage them with games early on, so they kind of pushed things back, played a little bit less games early on, play a little bit more later. But when being 4-0 at this point, with the great win against Kings, I mean, we are a smaller school, so when you're getting to beat up on Kings, or you're beating another Division I school, like our girls team has done on several occasions, that brings huge confidence. The word about Quinn and how he's kind of had the program progress has been nothing but amazing. Parents, athletes, all saying very high praise of just the direction of what he's got going. This is his first year, and he's coming from the college ranks. So it's a
Yeah.
little bit different thought process, but I mean, he's a local guy. I mean, he's from Cincinnati, and getting an opportunity to come home and have his first head coaching gig go, and then being able to have Tom Nugent, who's coached him when he was a younger kid, being his assistant, kind of giving a little bit of the older wisdom, has showed great progress. I mean, the team is still very young. This is very many thoughts this was going to be a very rebuilding year. So to start off as fast as it did, and then last night getting a big win over CCD, that was definitely a plus, and kind of keeps us going in the right track, you should say. And I think the more with a younger group, the more you win and you can develop that confidence, it's going to keep on progressing throughout the year, which as lacrosse is young in Cincinnati, but there's some very talented programs. We've got them coming down the stretch.
Well, it's kind of a similar story on the girls' side as well. You've got a lot of young players, and a lot of young players stepping in and getting a lot of playing time early on. They're 5-1 on the season. Of course, we had the game on WatchHSSports.tv, the game against Wyoming last Tuesday. Fell behind big early and fought all the way to the very end, and had a shot within 10 seconds to send the game to overtime, and came up one short. But nevertheless, bounced back with the win against Beaver Creek to go to 5-1 early on in the season. You've got a game slated Wednesday at Seven Hills, and then a monster test on Thursday when Marymount heads to the complex. And Marymont's the defending Division II state champs. They have been steamrolling early on in this campaign. For the staff and building for where they want this program to go, how important was getting Marymount on the schedule, knowing where they were a year ago, and serving as a litmus test for the team? And ultimately, how do you expect this young group to perform against such a big test?
Well, one of the things, we never want to shy away from competition. If you want to be the best, you've got to compete and beat the best. I mean, that's just the name of sports. So getting an opportunity to do that with a really young team, again, the more you win, the more success you have, the more confidence can grow. And I mean, this group is super talented. They were a great group as eighth graders, and it's kind of funny. It's funny for me even saying that. As a group of eighth graders that were dominant, and then how are they going to transition and step up to the varsity level? But they really have. They play well together. Our schedule is difficult. I mean, opening the season off playing against Lakota West, a school that's, I mean, they have more people in the cafeteria than we have in our school at a given moment at Lakota West. But, to be able to do that and kind of continue to play that, the one thing that Jeff has the team doing is taking one game at a time. One game at a time. Don't worry about statistics. Don't worry about, all the kind of the hoopla that goes around things, and just focus on your next opponent. And I think it's really important. He's got a great supporting staff, from coaches and, and parents alike that, it's part of the process. And it sounds so cliche-ish to say as an athletic director, thinking of the words I used to use as a coach, but, part of the process is learning and growing. And, we got to take care of business at Seven Hills first. That's going to be the first step and thing. To have Marymount at home, there's going to be a lot of energy and a lot of excitement. But again, you got to take care of Seven Hills first, because Seven Hills is in our conference and Marymount isn't. And if we want a chance at winning a conference championship, you got to take care of your conference opponents.
A lot of really good pieces in place. I was very impressed with the resolve of that team in that Wyoming game in particular. To fall behind the way they did would have been very easy for a young group to just kind of just pack it in and say, "Yep, today's not our day." And they didn't do that. I would imagine, even though the win didn't come there, I'd have to imagine that can be as big of a catalyst going forward, as a big time win.
Sure. I mean, you learn lessons. I mean, anytime, composure gets broken, or anytime, an outcome comes in place that isn't ideal, you got to learn from that and grow, and bouncing back the next week, or the next game, I should say, and beating, Beaver Creek, is a testament to that. Wyoming's a talented program, and there's no question. I mean, they're going to be in it for a long haul with what they're doing. So, I mean, the bounce back win was definitely big for us.
Switching gears, let's talk about your track and field programs, because they're getting busier these next couple of weeks. So you've got trips slated to Finneytown and to Anderson a little bit later on in the week, assuming Mother Nature cooperates, and that's always the caveat right now. And we look at the schedules going forward. Both teams are also slated to double up next week as well, with two meets, as opposed to traditionally there's been just one meet a week going in, but nevertheless 2 a week. Now we look at the schedule and we can sort of see the finish line in sight now, just a few weeks away. Are we looking at these 2 weeks right now as kind of that final push before that tapering process starts to begin, and we start to back off with some of our primaries and start to get maybe some of the younger athletes in there, get them some experience before the postseason?
Well, what track and field is so different than the other sports. I mean, the other four sports we talked about, you're trying to win every single game so you can build a record and you can win a conference championship that way. Where track and field, the end's all that matters. What happens during the regular season isn't really is important, other than the experience factor and the training. And Coach Timmers does an incredible job of building team unity, and has so many kids out for the team. It's kind of startling, to be honest. But what they're doing in this early stage, you're basically using meets as practice. Opportunities to be able to compete at a little bit higher level, to still train a little bit. Track and field season is so short, at the high school level, that, the training opportunities aren't vast. And most of the kids, are coming out of basketball season or coming out of swimming. So, getting opportunities to compete, and let's face it, more people like to compete than they do like to practice. And I used to always, was always told the adage that, what track and field is everybody's practice. It's everybody's punishment, those kind of things. So people don't really like to go out and practice, track and field. Not as many people like to run and do those things, but, it's building on. We've got a really young team. one thing that you see with our team is we have a number of sport individuals that are doing two sports at the same season. You have a number of our track and field athletes, almost all of them, compete in multiple sports throughout the season and length. So some of them are using it for training for other sports, but in a competitive realm. And Jeff does an incredible job of keeping that atmosphere up and kind of pushing on. Both teams are going to have a shot at competing for a conference championship. The really nice thing about it is we get to host the junior high and the high school NBC championships on our track, which is always nice. Anytime you can host is such a blessing. And it provides a little bit more comfort and kind of familiarity of the circumstances.
Well, in trying to build up towards the postseason, we've seen some of the results coming in, and several athletes up for NBC Athletes of the Week this week. Casey Beckerman, breaks the school long jump record this week, going 17 feet out at New Richmond. So you've got to make some adjustments there in the school to make sure his record's up there. Chandler Huffman out there improving her long jump nearly a foot, running a really fast 400 split. And then the Luneski twins doing what they're doing, with the shot put and the discus. They're fighting each other for the top spot in the league there. What's that like when you see the results come in like this? Okay, you get a call from a coach, or you see the sheet come in. Another school record broken. This guy's at the leaderboard. This girl's up on the leaderboard. How is that for you on your side of things?
Well, I think when you talk about the twins, this is their first year really throwing. So, this is the first year really playing football and then getting an opportunity to throw. And Don Relay has done a great job kind of mentoring them and tutoring them in the throws to get, where they're at as they're learning their frames. They're learning what they can do as athletes. And then Casey, it's her, I think this was her second time long jumping, so to be able to do that, and break a school record is always a positive. The one thing about track and field with records is, it shows where you're at in comparison to history. And, with other records and results, it kind of varies because of, the time of the year, your opponents and stuff, but track and field's really against you. And, to see, young people compete and hone their skills and be able to accomplish what they're accomplishing in probably not the most ideal of conditions. Wind's blowing, it's not real warm. I always kind of laughed, when I was, coaching in college and recruiting in track and field, you wouldn't see kids in Ohio really start to do anything until kind of the region meet and the state meet. So, right now you're really competing against yourself and being able to put up those marks and compete with very, limited opportunities at practice it's pretty impressive. We've got a great group of young people across the board in all our sports, which is pretty awesome.
Absolutely. And that's just as important as anything else, building quality people along with the results that they're giving you on the field, on the court, and what have you. And speaking on the court, let's talk about your tennis program. And it's been not as many events going in, not as many events under our belts as some of the other programs out there. And, it's just the way it happens sometimes. But busy week coming up here. You look at the schedule coming up, Cincinnati Country Day, Summit Country Day. You've got Loveland on the docket. And then we look forward to next week a little bit with right now. You look at the way things shake out, and especially in tennis, it's kind of a unique thing because, not as many schools are out there fielding full-fledged teams. So you've got to fill those spots with spots outside of your conference, obviously. What do you make of the fact that your coaches here for tennis especially are willing to load up with a number of Division I programs, again, similar to lacrosse, to try to challenge them and get them ready as they can be for the postseason, to schedule up like that?
Tennis is similar to track and field, that it's a unique individual / team sport. There's so much of it individualized where you're competing against another person or competing as a doubles team. And, like I said, we don't want to shy away from competition ever at CHCA. We want to give our student athletes the best opportunity to compete against the best and to be able to position themselves for, opportunities to play in college, compete in college, but then also, be able to compete against the best individuals in this city. And Cincinnati's pretty talented in sports, but, with tennis, our girls had such an incredible fall season, state runners up as a team, and how the individuals did on the individuals and the double side, where it's great. Our boys, it's really unique that they're in different seasons. And I'd be very honest. I mean, having the girls and boys split up seems kind of odd to me, but that's how Ohio does it.
Mhm.
But the boys, are fairly young. Where the girls program has a super rich tradition and longevity of competing. The boys, find their own niche. And, I mean, preseason, I think we were number 8 in Division 2 in the state as a team, which is a great accomplishment. It's kind of crazy when you start looking at, that it doesn't get some of the attention that maybe that the girls do. Um,
Mhm.
Playing against great teams, I mean, tennis has been similar to softball, just all over the place with rescheduling and trying to get things in from, the weather stances. But Matt's done a great job, and the young men, are competing, and hopefully we're going to get a chance to get things rolling a little bit more. Our conference is really good in tennis, which
Mhm.
is it's one of those things for most people that might not know. I mean, the MVC and tennis is loaded all the time, so getting to compete
Yeah.
against them is a challenge.
Absolutely, and a really good test for the long haul as well. So we got a lot of busy action going on this week in and around CHCA, and a lot of different sports to try to keep track of, and that's why we do these programs here to keep fans up to date week to week. But also have a very fun event coming up this Friday night
We
out
do.
on the campus. Tailgate Town coming up this Friday. Take us through this, how this all came together, and what folks can expect when they head out to campus.
Well, it's an opportunity that we've done in the past. We kind of wanted to kind of make sure it happened this year. Trying to create an atmosphere and a buzz of excitement. So what Tailgate Town is going to be is we're going to have a gate. You're going to go in. We have a JV tennis match that starts at 4, baseball game at 5, softball game at 5, boys lacrosse at 7. We have senior night for boys lacrosse, youth night for softball or for baseball, and boys lacrosse as well. And just creating an atmosphere where everybody's competing at the same time. You can kind of go see everything. I mean, I'm going to be grilling hamburgers and hot dogs. That might shy some people away. Our SOS group, our service group, is going to be providing some concessions. They're going to be doing all the money that they raise, selling concessions, is going to go to Hearing, Speech, and Deaf Center, which we always want to give back here at CHCA. And then we're going to have an athletic rummage sale. So, if you want to buy an old jersey or an old uniform of some sort, we're going to be selling those. I know younger kids, and somebody wants to put a framed up jersey out, in their house from alumni or that. We're going to be doing those. But just a great time to celebrate our community, which is a very special community, and to have some fun. While we're there, we're also going to have cornhole and spike ball and ladder ball, which I don't even know what that really is, but I guess it's more of a tailgating thing. And then our Eagle store is going to be selling apparel and such. So fun night, jam packed out at our stadiums, and we can get as many people to come out and join the excitement as we can to see all those
Yeah.
individuals compete.
Looks like weather is going to cooperate as well. Slated to be a
It looks
beautiful
great.
Friday night. Yeah, absolutely. So, folks, get on out there. Maybe give Bryan a tip or two on the grill as well to help things out there. And obviously, giving back to a really nice cause as well. On top of everything else going on, great athletic action. It's a great night great way to spend a Friday night out at campus. With that, time coming to an end here today, Bryan. Really appreciate catching up with you once again this week. A lot of great stuff going on, and looking forward to continuing that in the coming weeks.
Absolutely. We're excited. Have a good one. Thank you.
Absolutely. That is Bryan Fetzer, Athletic Director at CHCA, joining us for the Inside CHCA Eagles Athletics podcast here on chcaeagles.com and ESPN Media, powered by Sidearm Sports.